Sooner fans, Longhorn Nation, welcome to episode 180 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas. I'm here with my man, Kevin Miller. I am John Whitson. Kevin, you are looking at a big game hunter. There has been a beast ravaging the homestead here in Norman, Oklahoma, that I have been stalking for the last 6 months, all through the winter. It started last fall, all through the winter. Finally, the quest ended. Captain Ahab has gotten his whale. Here is a video for those that are watching. I mean, not a video, but a picture for those that are watching on video of me standing over my kill, Kevin.
Okay.
That is likely a Texas-born, that's my guess, a Texas-born armadillo. And this armadillo has been wrecking havoc all over the homestead, tearing up my grass, creating just like awful pot marks. He had built himself a ginormous nest right in my yard. This has been an adventure, Kevin. But last night at dusk, so if you're going to hunt an armadillo, you're either going to do it at dusk or dawn. It's when they're most active. So at dusk last night, I had taken my trash cans down to the curb, and I'm walking up my driveway, and I hear the rustling. Kevin, and I look over, and the little turd is coming out of the trees and walking along the driveway. Listen, I ran and got the Golden Boy 22 caliber rifle. Look, listen, I am not a gun person. I agree with the Second Amendment, but I could care less about the Second Amendment. But Alice, the wife, won this gun about 5 years ago. She won it because she gave a random donation to my son Jeffrey's best friend Curtis's Quail Lovers Hunting Club when he was in high school. And somehow this earned her a chance to win a gun, and she won a gun that we had to go pick up at a pawn shop. Whatever, doesn't matter. We got the gun. I've shot it twice in my whole life. Or in the last 5 years. And I've really only shot a gun probably 3 times in my whole life. Anyway, doesn't matter. I ran inside, dude. Got to 22. I do keep it loaded because what's the point? So I get to 22 out. And, dude, I had a panic shot, right? The first shot was from about 20 yards. I didn't want to lose him. So I took a shot. I missed. He scurries back into the trees. I'm like, ugh. But I go around. And he's still scurrying. He didn't go hide. He was just still digging and doing whatever it is he does. I got within probably 25 feet. 2 shots. Bam, bam. Dead armadillo. I don't know what to say. I feel incredibly masculine, yet somehow closer to nature with this kill, Kevin. And so there it is, right there. Dead armadillo. What do you think about that?
Hey, man, look, pests and invaders must go. So, well done.
You got to protect. Listen, you have to protect your land. All right, that's the American motto. This is what the West was founded on.
Right.
And I feel pretty good about myself right about now. Feeling pretty good about. Look, the tail is by far the grossest part of any animal, but specifically an armadillo. Look at that tail, dude. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. And then when I picked it up, I did not shoot it on that's on the driveway. I shot it in a thicket of trees. That's after I moved it out. But when I went to move it, dude, it's so wiggly and jelly-like. Bleh. It grossed me out.
And that's part of the process, though. If you're going to kill it, you got to do all that other stuff,
Dude, you got to respect the kill.
Right.
My son Jeffrey recommended I burn it in the fire pit to teach a lesson to the other varmints that are around. I thought that was a bit much.
Yeah, I mean, really a lesson would be just to leave it on display.
Just hang
it up. Yeah.
Just hang it up.
But that's we can't do that. You don't live. It's not out in the woods.
I instead chose to throw it away in the garbage can because tomorrow is pickup day, or today, I guess, is pickup day. So hopefully the guy just gets picked up and dumped in a big dumpster. Yeah, so anyway, there you go. That was my night last night, Kevin. Hunting big game, and feeling good about it, dude. Have you ever killed an animal with a gun?
I've not. Not against it. There's no, I got no problem with it. Just nothing I've done.
Nor have I. There's probably dudes out there listening that are like hunters and stuff, and they're like, that's the weakest story I've ever heard. I don't care. I don't need to hear your BS. This was a triumph. This was a triumph of man over nature, Kevin. This is why we have 20,000 years of evolution, is so that I can teach this critter a lesson. And I taught him a lesson. Don't stay off the land, dude. Stay off the land.
Yeah.
And if you want to come venture on and then venture back off, that's fine. But man, especially don't get on the sod,
Correct.
I've got plenty. It's 5 acres. I got 5 acres. There's plenty of natural land you can go tear up. But it's like they find the best grass on the property and just dig and dig and dig and dig and dig. And the actions have consequences, ladies and gentlemen. Actions have consequences. And you're seeing the consequences on that picture. So there you go, Kevin.
Congrats.
What do you think?
Well done. Well done.
Thank you. In addition to having my first kill, I also was able to take in the second half of the OU LSU softball game, where Sam Landry pitched a one-hitter for a 4-1 win against LSU. They play Arkansas, who's number 2 in the country according to D1 softball rankings. At 3 o'clock today, Arkansas is on a heater. This is by no means a guaranteed win for Oklahoma. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know what the line is. It's probably a pick 'em or maybe a slight edge to Arkansas, although OU should be in the bottom half of the order. So we'll see how that goes. They're looking to match up with the winner of Texas and Mike White and Texas A&M. It's a little big brother, big sister, little sister matchup today. Texas had a big lead against Ole Miss, but Ole Miss came storming back in the 5th inning. It was tied 6-6 going into the bottom of the 7th. Mia Scott, however, walk-off double to beat Ole Miss 7-6. Kevin, are you ready for postseason softball to be here? Is that something you can jump on?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. The softball, especially once you get to the World Series, it's always exciting. And definitely exciting for Oklahoma fans because you win it pretty much every damn year. So it'll be fun.
We do win it almost every damn year because we're damn good, Kevin. Also, I don't know.
It's better than good. I mean,
I got to tell you, Patty Gasso, it's one thing to win with the seniors and the players that were on last year's team. Now, she recruited those players. She built that team. All the credit goes to that. But still, you look at that lineup and you think, well, of course she wins because she has that lineup. It's very easy to say that. And that's fine. You get credit for winning with whoever you have. However, to win the SEC regular season title in a complete rebuild year, it has to be her best coaching job in a regular season, right? It has to be.
I mean, it's always hard when you're turning over the entire roster to come together. I don't care how much talent you have. It's hard to become a team, a cohesive team. So to do that, it's impressive. And, I think they're continuing to prove if you want to win, if you want to be the champion, you're going to have to go through them.
Well, and let's not forget, in addition to having a completely rebuilt lineup and a new pitcher and a new ace in Sam Landry, you're also doing it in the SEC, Kevin.
Right.
Which Oklahoma and Texas, they held a candle to, well, Oklahoma especially, but even Texas, there was no concern of how good those two teams were going into the SEC. That being said, the SEC is loaded at softball. A&M's the number 1 team in the country. Arkansas right now is the number 2. Oklahoma at number 3. Texas at number 6. I think Florida's somewhere close up there. Alabama's really, really good every year. The SEC in softball, much like every other sport, is no joke. So it's not like she lost her entire roster and then won in the Big 12. No. She lost her entire roster and won in the SEC. I don't know what else there. She has nothing else to prove, but this is just like another, like, what else does she have to prove? That she's the best coach in the history of softball. I'm not sure that there's anything else out there, any other mountain to overcome. I guess she wins a national championship with this roster after everything that the team has been through. That would forever cement it, but my God, dude, her legacy is going to be unmatched in the sport of college softball.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And like I said, if you're Texas or any other school who has ambitions of winning a national championship, you're going to have to go through them, especially with Texas. There's no avoiding it. If you want to win, right, and you've been on the brink and, it just continues to show, you're going to have to go through Oklahoma, not around them. You got to go straight through them, right? You want the crown, you got to kill the king. That's how it works.
This is the obligatory rant about Mike White. I think for Mike White and the Texas Longhorns, I think Patty Gasso is securely in his head. I think the idea of playing Oklahoma in Oklahoma City for the College World Series, I don't think he can overcome it. I don't think he can overcome it.
That's one thing that I don't like. Look, is it an advantage for Oklahoma to be playing in Oklahoma City? Yes. But I'm not saying it's an unfair advantage, but it is an advantage. But just deal with it. Go play and go win.
Yeah, I think for Texas to win a national championship, they have to play somebody other than Oklahoma in the final series. Look, dude, I don't think he beats Patty Gasso in a series. In a 3-game series.
The history's there, right? 2 out of the last, it's come down to this exact same deal, right? And it's turned out the same way.
Texas hasn't won a game in Norman in like 14 years.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And that's not even a series, a game.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic stat, especially in a sport like softball. Softball is it really is a kind of a condensed sport. It was 7 innings only. It's tight. And so whatever, man. I want to see OU Texas in the final because I want to see OU Texas in every sport have to go up against each other. I want to see them to take the SEC crown for the first time being in the conference. And also, I firmly believe the whole premise of this podcast is that Oklahoma and Texas is the number 1 rivalry in college football. I firmly believe that. And I know you do too, right?
For sure.
I think it is far, in a way, currently the number 1 rivalry in college softball.
Yeah.
And I think it has the chance to be that for the foreseeable future. Yeah. These two schools, just like in football, do not like each other. They're really, really good. They've got really good coaches. I don't want Texas to get a win there just to like solidify the rivalry. But I don't even think they have to. With the number of times they've met in the finals and the fact that they have to play every year and the fact that they're in the toughest conference, man, dude, I freaking love it. I absolutely love softball. I can't wait.
But to consider a true rivalry, Texas got to get one. Even, they got a series off of OU last year. Even that was worth celebrating because, it's just hard to get a series against OU.
Again, I think
it's a full rebuild and you get swept.
I think the only way they beat Oklahoma in Oklahoma City is getting a win in one of the early round games, winning that game, and then playing somebody else in the finals. I don't think they can beat Patty Gasso.
Yeah, and I understand why you say that. I don't have any kind of true, legit argument towards that. But again, you want the crown, got to kill the king. I guess the queen's in this case.
Real quick, I always got to give a shout out to Sam Landry because she went to the University of Louisiana before transferring to Oklahoma. My brother is a raging Cajun as well. There, she had to be amped up to play LSU again. It's got to
Oh
be
yeah, I'm
when
sure.
when a UL kid gets to go beat LSU. There's a little extra there,
For
and
sure.
she pitched a great game. It's going to be interesting to see who Oklahoma throws against Arkansas. I haven't heard yet. So anyway, that's softball. Hey, today 3 o'clock. Texas follows that. Hopefully, they're meeting in the finals tomorrow. Um, it doesn't sound like you saw this John Gruden video circulating where he got his swag box from
Okay.
Brent Venables and Jim Nagy. Have you
What I
seen it
did
yet?
see, I saw like a little portion of it when he was walking in with the box, but I didn't finish the whole video. I didn't see what
Kevin,
was
I've
in the
watched the
box, what was
video
said.
30. I've watched the video 37
Well,
times.
you're a Sooner fan. You're a Sooner.
It
Of course, you're
is
gonna watch.
one of the best off-season videos I've ever seen in my life. I have just lapped it up. It's the kind of stuff that I want to shoot into my veins for the rest of my life. The premise of the video, Kevin, since it sounds like you didn't watch it, is that Jim Nagy and Brent Venables sent John Gruden a ginormous swag bag of OU stuff. We're talking a helmet, multiple hoodies. I don't think they sent him a jersey, but might have to go look back at that. Gloves, Jordan shoes, a football. Like it is legit. And I posed a question to you before we finish talking about Gruden. I posed a question to you. If you were to get what would you do for a ginormous box of the top of the line OU swag? What would you do for that, Kevin?
Not much.
Not much. You're not a swag
Yeah.
guy.
Well, not for OU swag.
No, I said I'm sorry, for Texas swag. Sorry.
I don't know.
As
It'd be pretty. It'd be pretty cool to get that though. I mean, just for you and I being fans of our respective programs to get something like that. I mean, it's a dream box. It is absolutely a dream gift because I mean, you can get that stuff, but man, that stuff would be expensive to get. And a lot of it, you have to even know somebody because a lot of that is team issue stuff, right? You can't just go into the team store and buy it. You know,
Yeah.
you got to know somebody in the building to be able to get that stuff, especially some of those Jordans. I didn't see them, but I've seen some of the player exclusive OU Jordan stuff, and it's really nice.
There was one Jordan like hoodie, but I think it was sleeveless. But it was like OU on the front, and then it had Jordan running down the back spine. It I've been trying to find that online. If somebody knows where I get it online, put a link in the comments, please, because I couldn't find. And maybe it's a team exclusive. It was so rad. Okay, so anyway, he sees this video, and then Gruden, off the cuff, which I believe it's off the cuff. The guy knows his football.
Yeah, he's a scout. He's a coach, or he's a scout, so he scouted all these schools, so he knows all the players.
Dude,
And he's just a football fan.
He starts to list the players at OU, and it just felt so freaking good. He was throwing out Baker and, of course, Leroy Selman because he coached it, Tampa Bay, Gerald McCoy, and but can't went old school, went new school, Adrian Peterson. He did have to mention Lincoln and Caleb Williams, which was whatever. But
we can't ever forget it didn't happen.
I don't know if this is like a Jim Nagy effect. I feel like it has to be, but the positive vibes around the program right now there's always optimism from OU fans, but it's almost becoming contagious in the national media that covers college football, that Oklahoma has turned a corner, that Oklahoma is positioning themselves to be Oklahoma again. And it's little things like this that Oklahoma is just doing a heck of a job from a marketing standpoint. I don't know I think it's TBD if we're as good as advertised, but the advertisement has been fantastic for Oklahoma just in the last 4 months. It's been unbelievable.
Oh, you got to have as many eyes on your program as possible, right? In this day and age, recruiting obviously is the lifeblood of college football. So you have to have, the eyes of young people on your program. And yeah, I mean, you just want to engage your fans as much as possible, especially in a day and age where, money is needed to make this whole thing work. So you got to just get people engaged as much as you can.
It clearly is an entire I won't say an entire shift. Oklahoma's always been pretty good from a media standpoint. But since Nagy's taken over as GM, it just feels like if something comes out online about Oklahoma, it's a home run. You
Yeah.
know, whether it is or not, I don't know. I think it is very much to be determined. But even, and let's talk about this, Joel Klatt thinks Oklahoma could be poised for a really good season. His concern, which every Oklahoma fan has, especially after what we experienced last year, is the schedule. It's the schedule, the schedule, the schedule. We've got the toughest schedule in the country next year. In addition to a murderous SEC slate, we also host Michigan, who currently, according to Joel Klatt's top 25 list, is number 12 in the country. He's bringing Oklahoma in at 25, Texas at number 2. Let's talk a little Oklahoma first, but we're going to come back to Texas. If you were putting your top 25 together, do you have Oklahoma in your preseason top 25 list going into the summer?
Yeah, I have them in there. I have them in the 20 to 25 range, just because I feel like the defense will be good, and I feel like John Mateer is going to be good for you guys this season. I mean, obviously there are question marks, and the schedule, being one of the biggest question marks. But yeah, I'd have them.
If Oklahoma had just by virtue of being in the SEC, they're always going to have a tough schedule.
Yeah.
But if they didn't have let's say they had the number 15 schedule.
Well, let's say they had. How about Texas' schedule? How about we just make it,
What will Texas' schedule be ranked in the country, you think?
I'm not sure. Probably top 15, I would say.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So let's say they had a 15 schedule. Yeah, okay, but let's look at Texas' schedule. Why not? For the sake of this conversation, what would OU do against Texas' schedule? They lose to Ohio State. I know that.
You would think so. Yeah, you would absolutely think so. And
okay,
then
I'll tell you what. Let's do since this is all made up anyway. Let's do Texas' schedule, but with Michigan on the instead of Ohio State. I think Ohio State's a little too easy.
Okay.
So
go for it.
No, you have it?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll pull it up on the screen here.
Yeah, let's look at this. Let's see what they would do with which Oklahoma should get next year. I think we have to go to Ann Arbor, and then we get the flip schedule of Texas.
So I don't know how that's going to work. That's a good good question there.
Listen, dude, the biggest nightmare for Oklahoma fan is that they decide next year to go the 9-game schedule, and and then it just gets completely blown up, and you're reclassified again. That would
be stupid. That would be dumb if they did something like that,
dude.
I wouldn't like that.
Do you put it past college football to do something stupid, even the SEC?
Oh, God, no. Come on, man. This is how it is. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of small.
That's all right. Read it off to me. Okay, so we're substituting Michigan. Does Oklahoma in 2025 beat Michigan? Yes or no?
I think you actually beat Michigan.
Okay, so we both have a win.
Quarterback is too inexperienced there. If you had him late in the season, maybe it's different, but I think week 2 with the true freshman quarterback, I don't like that for him.
Okay, that's why I was questioning Joel's rankings of Michigan being at 12. They're awfully similar to Oklahoma. They either finished 7-6 or 6-7. They did beat Ohio State, which you could.
Yeah, they did.
You could liken that to OU's win against Alabama, kind of. I mean, Ohio State was a little bit better than Bama, but you know what I mean.
Like punching above your weight big time there.
100%. Exactly right. Surprising win, but they had plenty of bad losses. I don't know what makes Michigan number 12, but Oklahoma only comes in at 25. Because I think you trust Oklahoma's quarterback more, right?
For sure.
And
maybe it's just their culture of playing physical, having their philosophy and sticking to that.
Okay, and
just having competent potentially, quarterback
Yeah,
compared
maybe
to
their
what they had last year.
maybe their schedule, I guess.
Because
Maybe
remember, they
their
were
schedule.
other than their quarterback, they were pretty good. I'm just gonna run through Michigan's schedule real quick.
Okay, all right, we're
New
diverting here,
Mexico,
but that's okay. All right,
yeah,
win,
just New Mexico
win,
at Oklahoma,
loss,
Central Michigan
win,
at Nebraska,
win,
Wisconsin
loss,
at USC.
win,
I knew you were gonna say that. Hosting Washington
loss,
at Michigan State,
win,
hosting Purdue
win,
at Northwestern,
win,
at Maryland,
win,
and hosting Ohio State.
loss.
Okay.
4 losses. They go
4,
1, 2, 3,
8 and
4,
4.
5, 6, 7, 8, 8 and 4, 8 and 4. Which I'm picking. I'm probably going to pick OU to be 9 and 3. So if they beat one of those teams, who did I say they lost to? Washington. They beat Washington. They're 9 and 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know what the difference is between them and Oklahoma. I guess is my point. Except that they're their schedule's easier. Oklahoma we talk about Texas' schedule. Oklahoma goes through that schedule and they're 11 and 2. So
yeah,
or 10 and 2, 10 and 2 or whatever. All right. Anyway, back to Texas. Who's Texas playing the non-con?
Okay, at Ohio State,
right?
And then the non-con is it's pretty weak. Besides that,
so we're just going to go 3 more wins.
Yeah, San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston.
Okay, 3 more wins, which is about the same for Oklahoma's schedule. So this is OU on Texas's schedule. Okay. All right, go ahead. Now we're getting into their conference schedule.
Okay, at Florida.
Oof. I think OU loses that game.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Red River, which obviously we won't,
let's just say I'm going to say they win.
Okay.
Just what do you say? You say loss there? You want to switch me on that?
Yeah.
What about the Florida game? You think that's a loss?
I do.
Okay. Next.
At Kentucky.
Win.
At Mississippi State.
Win.
Hosting Vanderbilt.
Win.
At Georgia.
Loss.
Hosting Arkansas.
Ooh.
It is at home.
Win.
And then hosting A&M.
Let's just say, for the sake of a reasonable argument, that OU loses that game.
Okay.
That's still 9 and 3.
Yeah.
Which isn't a lot different. I think they could get. I think they could steal a win. You've got them at 8 and 4. They could steal that A&M win late in the season. I think, depending on how well they're playing.
Here's the OU schedule here. We'll just go through it one more time. That's what we do. Illinois State.
Yeah.
So I both have that, obviously a win. Michigan at home.
You think they win? You think they win, right?
Based on what I know right now, I have that as a win for Oklahoma.
Okay.
Just too soon for their young, talented quarterback.
Right.
I still don't know why this game is happening, but at Temple.
It's so stupid. Norman's still a tough place to play too.
Correct.
Ask Alabama.
Correct.
Okay.
Obviously, okay, this is probably one of the biggest swing games of your season here versus Auburn.
Auburn. I think that's a win. We beat them last year with a terrible quarterback. And they now have that terrible quarterback.
Well, remember, that terrible quarterback didn't play. Y'all started Hawkins that game.
Yeah, because he was so bad.
Arnold was, yeah.
Yeah, because Arnold was so bad. Yep.
Yeah. All right, Kent State after that.
Win.
Obviously win. Red River.
I mean, I think it's a win.
Okay.
You can say I'll put a loss down for you. That's fine.
Okay.
I'm never, ever, 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 ever going to pick Texas to beat Oklahoma. Ever. I don't give a ever. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, then this is when it gets weird for you guys. All right, at South Carolina.
Loss.
Ole Miss and Norman.
Win.
At Tennessee.
You got lost?
No, I could see you beating Ole Miss at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
At Tennessee, win. They don't have the quarterback anymore.
Yeah, without Nico, that actually flips that game for me as well, which is huge.
Yeah, I would have had it in the loss with Nico at quarterback.
Yeah.
Not that I think Nico's that good, but it would have been his second year in the system.
Yeah, it's enough to tilt it.
Home game, second win in the system. They beat Alabama
Right.
last year with him. He was only going to get better, not worse.
Right.
That's a massive mistake by Nico to leave and Tennessee to manage the relationship so poorly that he did
Yeah,
leave.
it would have been great for everybody if they could have worked this out.
Yeah.
Because no one wins here. Nico at UCLA is not winning. Tennessee is certainly not winning with whoever they're rolling out. So yeah, really bad deal, but an
Unless they
example for
sign
all of
somebody.
us.
I'm just happy that Nico left when he did so that John Mateer didn't have Tennessee to consider.
Oh my goodness, can you imagine?
That's a real consideration
Yeah,
for him.
it
It's
is.
air raid to go play. It's still air raid.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Tennessee.
At Alabama.
Loss.
Missouri and Norman.
Win.
LSU and Norman.
Oh, boy.
Garrett Nussmeier's back. They're replacing receivers, but they always seem to replace really good receivers with really good receivers.
Okay. Pretty much this entire offseason, I've thought that OU is going to be 9-3.
Okay.
And I think this is the swing game between 10-2 and 9-3.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
To me, optimistic OU fan says home against LSU. We were in the game through the first half last year and just had zero offensive output in the second half. If we're in that same situation, by the way, Joel Klatt has LSU at 7. We're just everything's
third year
based off of
Nussmeier, man.
Third year Nussmeier. I think it's reasonable to put loss there. I think it's reasonable. I don't know what I'm going to officially pick, but for the sake of this conversation, loss. And so that puts them at 9-3, which is interesting because it's the same schedule as Texas.
Yeah.
So I think it's the SEC, dude. SEC's tough. The interesting part about y'all is having to go to Florida. A lot of your games being on the road are different. You're going to have to go to Georgia. You're going to have to go to Florida. You do get to host A&M, but you beat A&M anyway. It's an interesting look. I think OU can beat LSU though. There's an argument for me to get to 10-2.
Okay, it's going to be tough. I think for you guys to go 10-2. I mean, obviously you're going to have to play well and you're going to have luck when it comes. Not just like everybody else with injuries and things like that.
Absolutely.
And you got to protect Mateer with everything.
It sounds like you have us at 8-4.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I don't know what can change, but things can change. We'll see. Like you said, injuries. We won't do a final. Hold us to it until preseason, until August. But
yeah,
that's it. Yeah. No. So other news. So let's move to Texas.
Real quick, I do tend to think you're undefeated going into the
Red River.
Yeah.
Man, I
love that Auburn game. You can't lose that Auburn game.
You have
multiple reasons.
Here's the deal, though. That you could be a better team than us and legitimately be at 3-2 going into Dallas.
For sure.
Because Ohio State is obviously you're going to be an underdog at Ohio State.
Correct. Yeah.
And then Florida is no joke. Even if Florida's not any good, but if Lagway's playing, and I mean it's the swamp.
Yeah,
it's probably gonna be a night too. It's probably gonna be. Oh, is it gonna be a night game? Have they already said it?
No, they haven't said. I think they'll make it a night game. If Florida is as good as we think they can be, that's a tough game, man. Oh yeah.
Florida wants that at 3:30 local though. They want it 3:30 local because they want that humidity cranked up.
Seriously, yeah.
All right. Speaking of Texas, we just went through Oklahoma's schedule against them. I don't know that Texas can go unscathed with only a loss to Georgia this year. I'm not buying that. Ohio State, Oklahoma's going to be better at Georgia, at Florida. You do host Arkansas and A&M. I just don't know. I don't know how you can get to Texas as the number 2 team in the country right now. I have no problem with them in the top 10 just based on what Sark's done the last 2 years. I just don't know how you make the argument for number 2.
Well, I mean, again, who are you arguing with? Who are you
Joe
arguing
Klatt.
them against?
I'm arguing with Joe Klatt.
Who are you arguing Texas against as far as being ranked number 2?
Ohio State.
Okay.
Notre Dame. LSU.
Let me ask you this. Do you have more of a problem with Texas being number 2 than you do with Penn State being number 1?
On the face of it, it sounds weird that Penn State would be ranked number 1. And I think it's always fair to say that Joel Klatt is probably the least SEC biased person that covers college football, right?
Yeah.
He's always making an argument for the Big 12. He's always making an argument for the Big 10. The Big 10 won a national championship last year. He thinks they're the best team in the Big 10. Okay, I think that's how he gets the math there. Drew Aller is coming back. The definition of a game manager, and against Notre Dame, he wasn't even much of a game manager, not even a completion to a wide receiver, which still baffles me how you get to a college semifinal or a national championship. Can't make a completion to a wide receiver. It's
they got the semifinal.
The semifinal. You can't throw a 5-yard hitch. Like, I don't even understand it. It's so weird to me. Can't throw one wide receiver screen. I mean, I could go on and on with little pass, slant, whatever.
That sounds like that's a scheme issue too, more than anything.
Possibly, but I don't think their offensive coordinators changed. However, he is coming back. He is experienced. He took them to the semifinals last year. And they've added Jim Knowles as defensive coordinator. Their defense was already legit. Now, they did lose Abdul Carter. However, they're loaded defensively. I think we can grant Penn State that.
The other the Smith kid is back on the other side.
You think, Kevin Miller, that their 2 running backs might be the best 2 running backs in college football?
Yeah, I mean, they're by far the best tandem. And yeah, individually, 2 1,000-yard rushers coming back.
So no,
what are you talking about here? So
I guess I'm talking myself into a reasonable argument for Texas to be number 1. I mean, I'm sorry, for Penn State to be number 1. Yeah. As far as Texas at number 2, everything I've just brought up is the opposite for Texas. They don't have a returning quarterback. We know Arch is going to be pretty good, but how good? Offensive line, you lose 3 to the draft. We know how good they were. Your running back is definitely a question mark just because it's CJ Baxter going to be as good as he's going to be. And then, Jaden Blue, and who's going to be your starter? We just talked about this last week.
Oh, Wisner.
Yeah, but nobody loves Wisner. You don't love Wisner. You're like, okay, I guess we're going to have Trey Wisner.
We really like him. Yeah, I mean, 1,000-yard returning rusher. But, yeah, I feel like there's a higher level that we can get to. Yeah.
Yes. And then defensively,
we had a healthy CJ Baxter.
All you've done on defense is lose the Thorpe Award winner and your 2 interior defensive linemen. So, who are really good. And so, I think there's more question marks for Texas at number 2 than there are for Penn State at number 1. Now, as I say that, Ohio State will have a different quarterback. Oregon will have a different quarterback. Clemson actually brings Cade Klubnik back. I don't know what they've done.
I love Cade Klubnik.
I know you love Klubnik. And it was the best. It was the most competitive first-round game in the playoffs. You wonder what it would have looked like if Clemson was hosting versus Texas. So, I don't know. And then you've got – and then Notre Dame, I think the big question mark for Notre Dame was obviously quarterback, right? Because Riley Leonard's gone.
Yeah, Riley Leonard's gone. Yeah, he got drafted.
And then LSU's got Nussmeier. I actually think Nussmeier is probably maybe the best quarterback in the SEC. And so – and then you don't have Georgia or Alabama. You wait till 8 or 9, and then you have Illinois at 10. Look, dude, I don't think Illinois is the 10th best team in the country. I don't care.
Yeah, Bielema's done a good job, but yeah, it's hard to –
Come on, man. What are we talking about?
And here's the thing, right? But it's like, who are you arguing against? I will take Arch over whoever Ohio State goes out at quarterback.
And Oregon.
Yes.
What about Cade Klubnik? You love Klubnik.
I do. Clemson has more issues than just that. But no, Klubnik's awesome.
LSU with Nussmeier? You can't get there with LSU?
Oh, I love Nussmeier, but man, LSU's been a train wreck defensively.
Yeah. Brian Kelly has struggled as much as Brent Venables has.
And it's crazy because he always had pretty good defenses at Notre Dame, but since he's gotten to LSU, it just hasn't worked.
Maybe because what's his name was coaching his defense.
Yeah, Marcus Freeman.
Yeah,
that's true. That's a good point.
Because Marcus Freeman's defense at Notre Dame are just fantastic. So I hear you. I guess I hear you. and maybe it just speaks to the potential of some parity this year.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the fact that you have Georgia and Alabama at 8 or 9 is real
Again, man, Georgia loses a lot. They lose more than Texas does. Way more than Texas does. And
Alabama's got a quarterback to replace too.
yeah, Gunnar Stockton, is he good? Do we even know? I mean, we know he's tough. Getting the crap knocked out of him by Makuba and somehow staying in the football game and holding onto the football.
I think
Right.
South Carolina should be ahead of Illinois.
I agree with that.
I think Florida should be ahead of Illinois. I think Michigan is too high. I don't trust either BYU or ASU. Those are your first entries from the Big 12. I don't trust either one of those
Arizona
teams.
State.
Even without Scatterbo?
Scatterbo, I do. Yeah, I like their quarterback. I thought he was really good against Texas. I was like, oh, this dude's super. I mean, because Texas had one of the best pass defenses in the country, right? And
do you think Miami ends up in the top 25? They're at 18 on Joel Klatz.
Oh, man, I mean, who's their quarterback going to be?
And they're going to be the kid from Georgia? No.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that's what I mean.
Beck,
Carson Beck. Does that do anything for you? It doesn't do anything for me.
No, it doesn't.
I don't get fired.
Obviously, it's a downgrade, from Cam Ward. But I mean, 18 right? 18's fine. It's fine.
They're the second highest team in the ACC. Clemson at 5. There's not another team in the ACC. You have A&M, Ole Miss, Auburn. I think Auburn's too high. I don't know. I don't know how you get Auburn over Oklahoma. That doesn't make sense to me because Oklahoma had a much better portal season. Oklahoma beat Auburn last year. Oklahoma hosts Auburn this year. They're probably going to win that game. I don't know that Hugh Freeze has done enough to get them in the top 25. They were terrible last year.
What's the schedule look like, though? They first of all, they have recruited.
They got to play Oklahoma and Alabama. I know that much.
They recruited outstanding, and they play Georgia every year too. So,
is that their guarantee?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, Ball State, South Alabama. Well, first of all, they open up against Baylor. It's an interesting matchup there.
Joel Klatt has Baylor at 24. Is it home or away?
It's at Baylor.
I don't know how good Baylor is. Baylor's one of those teams where you just don't know how good they are.
Me neither. I know they finished the season well, but I mean, who knows? Ball State, South Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Georgia, Missouri, Arkansas.
They could lose those first 3 games in the SEC.
Yeah, Oklahoma, A&M, and Georgia. Yeah,
they're going to be underdogs in all 3 of those games.
Missouri won't be easy either. They do get to host them though, and then they go to Arkansas. They host Kentucky, go to Vanderbilt, Mercer, and then of course the Iron Bowl against Alabama.
Well,
and again with Alabama,
there's only 4 guaranteed losses there, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
maybe they're 8-4. Maybe they're 8-4, which probably keeps them in the top 25 at the end of the year. Being the SEC.
Yeah. So that's my thing. And I get people saying I don't think Texas should be number 2, but they have the same question marks that all these other teams that are grouped in with them have. And again, when it comes to replacing a quarterback, I'd rather be replacing my quarterback with Arch than whoever Ohio State, Oregon, Notre Dame, Georgia, and Alabama are rolling out with this year.
Okay. Kevin, that is a perfect segue for the next topic. All right. University of Texas quarterback Arch Manning. All right. I pulled up the stats for Sark's last 3 first-year starters. Okay. Now, Casey Thompson's numbers are going to be a little skewed because he didn't finish the season, right? Or did he finish the season?
He didn't start the season.
Okay, he didn't start, but he finished the season.
But
he got hurt a little bit. He got hurt in the Texas OU game. And then Tua also didn't finish the season. Well, no, he did finish this season. He had played in all 15 games in his first full year as a starter. Okay. Let's start with Quinn, the most recent Sarkisian quarterback, first year full-time starter. I think Arch has to pass these numbers up. 2177 yards, 7.4 yards of completion, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 58% completion percentage. I think you expect Arch to be better than that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, Casey Thompson did not start the season, so I think it affects his yards, but his completion percentage was 5 points better than Quinn at 63%. He had 2,113 yards, 8.1 versus Arch's 7.4, 24 touchdowns against 9 interceptions. I think Casey Thompson is a big what if for Texas if he, number one, played the whole season, and number two, doesn't get hurt against Texas. I mean, against Oklahoma.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
I always like Casey Thompson. I still like Casey Thompson. So
yeah, I mean, he ended his career as a Sooner and didn't seem to be causing any trouble on the bench, where you think we might have even been able to use him last year, which blows. He must have been really hurt.
Yeah, he's had some bad injuries.
He must have been really, 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 really hurt that he didn't play with the trash we threw out at the quarterback position last year. Some of Michael Hawkins' games plays notwithstanding. But here's Tua's numbers. Okay, so we think he's going to be better than Quinn. Is there any way in the world he's as good as Tua's numbers as a first-year starter? You ready for these numbers?
Let's hear it.
69% completion percentage, 3,966 yards, 43 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 190 yards rushing, and 5 touchdowns.
Wow.
And he did not win the Heisman. This is 2018. In fact, I think that, this is Kyler's Heisman year.
Yeah.
Tua gets hurt at the end of the year, doesn't win the Heisman. Arch isn't going to be that good, right?
I don't know, man. I think Arch is going to be really good.
You think he's going to be as good? And this is fine if you say yes, because you're a Texas fan, so it's okay. You think he's going to be as good as 2018 Tua?
I don't know if he's going to be that good with those kind of numbers, because you also have to remember who they were rolling out at receiver that year. And if you don't remember, they had Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, and Devontae Smith. Those are his main receivers. Pretty good. Correct. Pretty good group. So when you're throwing to guys like that, also Irv Smith at tight end, very productive tight end for them as well. And Josh Jacobs at running back, Najee Harris at running back. So a lot of future NFL guys, especially they had 4 first-round picks at receiver on that team. So I don't know if I don't think he has that sort of talent. Actually, I know he doesn't have that sort of talent who's going to be catching passes from him. So I don't think the stats will be that gaudy. That was a loaded Alabama offense. But
where does Arch land after year one, stats wise? If you had to pick an over/under number, let's do this. Let's just play over/under. Okay, I can give you the number, or you can give me the number. How do you want to do this?
No, you give me the number, because I want your
perspective. I will give you the number. Okay, I will give you the number. So this is Arch's stats. We're going to do completion percentage. We're going to do yards. We're going to do touchdowns, interceptions, rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
Not rushing yards, because that could be with sacks.
Yeah,
and stuff.
Sacks will affect that. Yeah.
So here's where we go. Okay. So if I gave you a completion percentage for Arch of 61.5, do you take the over or under?
61.5. I'm taking the over.
61. You're taking over. Okay.
Yeah.
Yards. If I give you yards of 2,700 yards, are you taking the over or under?
Way over. Over.
Way over? What was Arch's? Yes. What was Quinn last year?
Not sure. I don't have it in front of me. Hold on.
Oh, hold on. I'll pull it up. I got it. Give me a sec. He did 34.72. He had 34.72.
Yeah.
Yeah, but dude, he had a lot of freaking. He had some studs, and it was his third year.
But Arch is better down the field. lot of Quinn stuff was
Okay.
catch and run.
All right. Let me
and
amend that.
Arch's run and catch.
Let me amend that because Texas's roster, regardless of who is there, is better than it was. So I went a little under based on Quinn and Casey. So I'm going to amend that. Let's say an even 3,000 yards over under.
3,000. I will still take the over on 3,000 yards.
Wow. Touchdowns, 28 and a half.
28.
I'll give you 28 and a half.
Touchdown passes.
Yes, touchdown passes.
Okay. What did Quinn throw for last year? How many? You have that there.
31. 31 last year.
Okay.
Throwing to some dudes, though. Throwing to some dudes. Matthew Golden, Gunnar Helm, both of which aren't there.
And what's the number again? You told me for over under
28 and a half. 28 and a half.
I'll take the under.
Wow, low. You do not expect him to be very good at throwing touchdowns. Okay. Let's see. Last thing, interceptions. The difference with him is he's a redshirt sophomore, right?
Yeah.
So he's actually been in the program for 3 years, got to start 2 games. So he's not your normal first-time starter in the sense that A, he's a Manning, and B, he has played before in the SEC. I think he was underutilized last year, specifically against Ohio State in the college football playoff. But that's not the point. The point is he's done it before. So he shouldn't make Jackson Arnold-like mistakes as far as throwing the interceptions and fumbles. But he still is a first-year starter. It's still the SEC. He still has to go on the road to Georgia, Florida, Texas in the Cotton Bowl, Ohio State. Those 4 games alone are going to define his first year.
We're going to know a lot about him.
We're going to know a lot in the first 6 games for Texas. Interceptions on the year, I'm going to say actually more than anybody else has here in their first year.
Just better competition.
I think it's better competition. I'm going to say 10 and a half. 10 and a half INTs. Over or under?
I'm going to go under, but I do think he'll throw 10.
Under, but you like that line, though. Sounds like you like the line.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly understandable for a inexperienced quarterback and he's a bit of a gunslinger more than Quinn is. Quinn did a pretty good job of protecting he'd always have that one weird throw. We floats it up, but I think he's just gonna not see it or just say I can fit this in here, and it's like you can't fit it in here against this team.
I think
we'll have a couple of those.
I think Arch, honestly, after seeing him play, could be one of the most athletic I think he could be the most athletic quarterback of the 4 I mentioned, including Tua in college.
Oh, he is for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's big of a
for rushing touchdowns, I'm going to give him a little bump over what Tua had at 5, and I'm going to say 6.5.
Okay, I'm actually going to go over on that, and that's why I had his touchdown passes so low because I think they'll utilize his legs a little bit in the red zone, even if it's a quarterback sneak on the goal line.
Look, dude, I think that the completion percentage at 61.5 going over is, I'd probably take the over too. Although I think it's going to be right 61, 62, 63. I don't think he is like Sam Bradford level accuracy or even Baker Mayfield level accuracy. But I think it's going to be good, right? I think he's going to be fine. I worry about the yardage number at 3,000. A, because I do think he's going to use his feet more. And B, I'm still waiting to see the weapons. Yes, Ryan Wingo, I get it. But the other ones, DeAndre Moore, okay. But where's that tight end to pick up those 8-yard passes on 3rd down?
We think it'll be the guy from Cal. We think it'll be injuries from Cal. It's going to be that guy for us. I'm not saying he's as good as Gunnar Helm, but he's a talented guy. So with Arch, the down the field passing is better than Quinn. We already know that. He gets the ball downfield better than Quinn does.
We only saw it against Mississippi State and whatever that was, UTSA or whoever that was.
Yeah, but I mean, Quinn wouldn't have those moments even against those teams. And
even with the superior arm talent that I heard about for 3 years from you?
Correct. Yeah, he didn't throw the ball well down the field. He works the middle of the field, RPO. Yes,
I,
4 straight completions in the game that they lost. I know they lost. But you've seen that. That's the arm talent.
I will take the under on touchdowns, but not by a lot. Maybe
Okay.
right at 28. INTs, I would take the over, not by a lot. I'm pretty comfortable with where I set these. And then I take the over on rushing touchdowns. I could see a scenario where he got 7 or 8 rushing touchdowns because he is athletic and they call his number. Again, should have done it against Ohio State last year. It's the most frustrating thing.
Again, none of this has been confirmed. That he got a concussion on that play. If you look at that play when he got hit, he got popped and his head bounced off the turf. And we did not see him at all for the rest of the game.
You're saying Arch had a concussion?
Potentially.
This is news to me, Kevin. This is news to me on May 9th. That it's taken 5 months to release the fact that he had a concussion.
It wasn't released. That's what I said. I literally prefaced this by saying it was never released.
Sounds like loser's limp to me. You know what loser's limp is? Ask LeBron James what loser's limp is.
It was the second quarter.
Ask LeBron James what loser's limp is, Kevin. Oh, his knee hurts. Oh, this. Oh, that. Blah, blah, blah. He flops all over the place. That's very similar behavior, Kevin, is what you're describing. Very similar behavior. Okay. You know who didn't ever complain about injuries? Kobe Bryant. Michael Jordan. You never hear them complain about injuries. They just manned up.
Why are we talking about LeBron here?
I don't know, because it seems like it fits, Kevin. It seems like it fits. Loser's limp, Kevin. Look it up. Google it up in Urban Dictionary. I think you'll see a picture of LeBron James followed by this phantom concussion of Arch Manning to disguise why Sark had the worst 3 play calls he's ever had in his life. That's what it sounds like to me.
It's really just one.
I don't know. They were all pretty bad.
But it's just the one.
Yeah,
it's just all that matters is the one. Yeah, that's how sweet.
Kevin, we've gone 57 minutes. And this is your first commercial, and really your only commercial, only commercial break. This is why you need to listen to the Boomer Bevo podcast, because we put the work in for not a whole lot of money. But Brown O'Haver does support the Boomer Bevo podcast, and they have since day one. Brown O'Haver is a public insurance adjusting firm that works for the insured, not the insurance company. If you've had a loss to your home or your business, consider hiring Brown O'Haver. They get their clients 30 to 40% more than they do on their own. Storm season's coming. Looks like the end of next week, the severe weather ramps up. If you have a tornado loss, a wind loss, maybe a lightning strike to your home, you want to call Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510. Kevin, another peril of storms is hail. If a bad hailstorm hits the roof, who's their first call?
Your first call needs to be to Pioneer Roofing. Give them a call. They'll come out and give you a free inspection. Let you know if you have damage to your roof, if you need a full replacement or just repair, or if your roof is just fine. They'll let you know and give you an honest assessment of how your roof looks and where it stands. Give them a call, 405-549-2712.
Kevin, as you can see, I am appropriately decked out in Thunder colors today. It's the only time where you will see even a hint of orange. It's very subtle in the shirt, but it is present. I respect their uniforms, although their uniform choices through the first 2 games were a bit sketchy. I do not like alternate uniforms in the playoffs. I don't know what we are doing. That's not what this guy's about. You were at game 2, which turned
out game 1 and 2.
You were at 1. Did you like the uniform choice in game 1, Kevin?
I don't mind the City Edition uniform. I think they're nice. And I'm not a big alternate uniform guy. I'm not. And it is weird. It is weird for the playoffs, but I just happen to like these alternate uniforms. I like these City Edition.
Do you like it when they lay an egg in the 4th quarter and lose to Denver when they're wearing those uniforms, Kevin?
No, but I do like it when they beat them by almost 50 wearing the same uniform.
That was an awesome performance. Oklahoma City, well, they scored the most points in the first half of any playoff team in the history of the game.
Yeah, just a few points off the all-time record.
In this playoffs, they've had the greatest comeback in NBA history, playoff history, and now the most points in a half in NBA history. It's unbelievable when they get rolling. Now that they secured game 2, they go back to Denver tonight, right? Friday night?
Friday night, yeah, tonight.
What is your confidence level today that the OKC Thunder pull this series out?
Oh, it's very high. Yeah, it's very high. I think if both teams are at their best, the Thunder are just a better team. Their defense, when they play like they did the other night, it's hard. They're hard to score against. And Jokic is always good. I mean, obviously he wasn't good the other night, but if you can really just shut down Jamal Murray and play good defense on Aaron Gordon, I don't think they can score enough points. And what I've noticed so far in this series, as good as Jokic is, especially in game 142 and 22 rebounds,
Pretty good game
incredible
one.
performance. Yeah, incredible performance. But, it's interesting. He's not dominating the game as far as setting everybody up. He's not been the dominant playmaker in this series so far. So I don't know if the Thunder are doing something to take the ball out of his hands coming up the court, but he hasn't been the primary playmaker. So that looks a little bit different for them so far. And you really saw the result of that in game 2.
I know Oklahoma had a big lead in game one, or the Oklahoma City Thunder had a big lead in game one, but it still looked like they maybe ran out of gas because they hadn't played a game in 9 days.
I see that. Yeah.
Their first quarter shooting was abysmal, even though they ended up with a big lead. They couldn't throw the ocean in the first quarter. I think that's going to go away, right? I kind of think we're going to see. I don't think we're going to see game 2 again. That would be
surprising, almost shocking.
Almost shocking. But I think we're going to see a pretty dominant team. I think they know what it's like to lose now in the playoffs, and they don't want to do that. I think Stein. I think Hartenstein makes all the difference in the world in this particular matchup. This is the matchup. This is the reason they brought this guy in.
Correct.
Is to nullify or attempt to nullify Jokic. Now, are they going to shut Jokic down? No, dude, the guy's a great player. He's historic. I would argue that he's got a chance before it's all said and done to be the greatest player of the 21st century, maybe behind Kobe Bryant. But he's got to win a couple more titles to do that. But as far as MVP goes, he's well along the way. But you still have to nullify him, right? You have to make it really, really hard. And to your point, maybe you don't take away the points, but maybe you take away the playmaking. Maybe you take away the assists. Maybe you just bang him and wear him out. He's not the most physically gifted specimen in terms of his shape. So maybe just getting tired is affecting it. I don't know. But I think the Hartenstein addition is the key for this series. I don't know what it will be like in future series, but in this series,
at least this one.
This is why Presti brought him in. And I think in game 2, you saw that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Last year, the Thunder's first home game was against the Nuggets, right? And this would have been Chet's, first game as a pro. And it was funny because they were warming up, and I was looking at the Nuggets, and then I was looking at the Thunder. And it's like the Nuggets have 3 guys in their starting lineup who are bigger than Chet, who's the biggest guy for the Thunder. Michael Porter is bigger than Chet. Chet's a couple inches taller because Porter's 6'10".
But
bigger. Yeah. And then Aaron Gordon, and then Jokic. So they had 3 guys who were in their starting lineup who were bigger than the Thunder's biggest guy. So yeah, the Hartenstein pickup was paramount because they just can't handle their size with what they had last year.
And J-Dub,
as much as we love Chet,
J-Dub responded in game 2 also. I mean,
absolutely. 5 of 20 in game 1. He knew. I mean, look, they responded the way you would hope a team responds when you lose a game. And Shea, was like, we're going to take over. I'm going to take over this game. We're not going to lose. I mean, 34 with the rebounds and assists. I mean, he's been awesome. I hope he wins the MVP. I think he will. It'll be close because Jokic has had that kind of season as well. But yeah, he responded like you hope an MVP would respond.
Yeah. No, I feel really good about the Thunder. I have a hard time watching their games, man. It stresses me out. I actually feel anxiety.
Like not almost OU level anxiety?
Well, what's interesting is when it comes to football, I watch every single play. Y'all know that. Every single play. Even when we went through the schedule, Temple, I'll be watching
man.
every single play on SEC Plus or whatever, right? Every single play. Basketball for OU, I have to like get away from it sometimes. It's the ups and downs of basketball and the runs that get made kind of like stress me out a little bit. And sometimes I feel like when I'm watching, and so the back half of the basketball season, I watched more basketball than I had in a while. OU kind of made a run there in the conference season, so I watched quite a bit. Watched all of the tournament game, of course. But with the Thunder, man, they stress me out more than OU basketball does. Maybe because I expect them to be so. No, not OU football. But maybe because I expect them to be so good that it's just like one missed shot. I'm like, oh, I get like all anxious, and it's just, which is unreasonable. I know. I don't know why. I can't explain it. It just stresses me out. I get stressed out.
I mean, you're a fan.
All right, let's look at the other playoff matchups before we leave. Let's stay in the West. I thought Minnesota was going to win this anyway. Steph Curry being sidelined. It is currently 1-1. But with Steph Curry out potentially at least a week, I don't see a scenario where Golden State can win this series.
They're able to score points. No, they can't score enough points.
I know that this is low-hanging fruit, but it has to be said. Draymond Green is insufferable, Kevin. He is an insufferable human being and an insufferable player to watch play basketball. I can't think in modern NBA, Patrick Beverly, maybe just because of what he did to Russ back early on, against the Rockets.
Yeah.
But, man, that was because Beverly did something to my guy that made him hard to watch. Draymond Green does it to everybody. I mean, he is indiscriminate. We know what he did to Steven Adams back in the day, but he is I can't explain it. It is so off-putting, dude.
Yeah, it's like he can't help himself. I mean, if he's swinging his arm out, he's going to hit somebody. The thing with Tari Eason, he got rolled around and kicked him in the head, and he acted like it wasn't on purpose. I'm like, I just don't see how that wasn't intentional. We've seen it for years. I just legitimately think he can't help himself. I don't understand why he can't, but he can't. And the fact that he's so volatile with the referees. I don't know how he didn't get ejected last night.
Oh,
he was going nuts on the ref.
The NBA, I guess, introduced new flagrant rules or something. 7 technical fouls before you're ejected from a game or something like whatever. There's 7 flagrants. That seems like a lot in the playoffs. That seems fine for an 82-game season. But in the playoffs where you're expected to play at most 25, 30 games, that's if you make it to the finals, it doesn't seem like punishment at all. It seems like an unrealistic goal.
Okay, so apparently you receive a 1-game suspension after occurring 4 flagrant fouls.
4 flagrants and how many techs?
Techs, let's see.
7?
Correct. Yeah.
I don't know why it's not a 5 combination of both.
Yeah.
Like we could fix this rule really quick. It's 5 combo technical flagrant fouls.
Yeah.
Like super, super easy. And they don't even have to be flagrant 2s. I don't know. Does the NBA still do flagrant 1 and 2s?
They do.
Flagrant of any kind and make it 5 of both. Or 6 maybe, I guess. But,
yeah.
Dude, I don't know, man. I can't think of another player like that.
And he's so good defensively.
Grayson Allen at Duke, right?
Yeah.
But he was, you could argue, was still a kid.
Yeah. Grayson Allen, though.
Draymond Green has more gray in his beard than I do.
Yeah. He's 35? Yeah. The thing about Grayson Allen was rough because he was intentionally tripping players as they would pass.
Agreed. Right? But come on.
But yeah,
we saw what he did against Steven Adams though back in the day. Come on,
the man got suspended for a Western Conference final game and an NBA Finals game, and it flipped the series.
Yeah, and then he acts like, why am I the bad guy? It's like,
Yeah, There's something
the
that's miswired with
delusion
him.
is unbelievable. I mean, I can't even imagine Golden State fan can defend his behavior anymore. Can they?
No,
They can't, right?
no, you can't. You can't. And I know it's tough, man. I mean, yesterday, Curry walks over and tries to calm him down. I mean, that's his guy. Draymond is Curry's guy. Like, if they would have came up to Curry and said, "Hey, we got to get rid of Clay or Draymond.
He's stuck with
Which one do you
Draymond.
want
Yep.
to keep?" He's going to keep Draymond because Draymond has set him up for the majority of those 3-pointers that he's made over his career. So, but yeah, Steph couldn't calm him down. Kerr, I think Jerry Stackhouse had to go over there, assistant coach, and finally calm him down.
Stackhouse is an assistant coach for Golden State.
He is.
I actually like Stackhouse in the league.
Me too.
I thought he was really, really good. North Carolina, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a good
Loaded
player.
North Carolina teams with him and Rasheed Wallace.
Was he ever on there with Montross? Was Montross on that team, or is that later?
I think Montross was before. He might have been on the very end of the Montross.
I feel like that. Those were some good teams. Those North Carolina teams were really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I hated Rasheed Wallace. He was an easy player to hate when he was playing for North Carolina. But Stackhouse was one of those guys. He was kind of a Grant Hill-like player, which is really hard to hate. It was just really hard to hate.
Yeah. Shout out to Grant Hill, of course, in town for the last few days for the calling the Thunder games.
Okay. Oh, was he? That's great. Okay. I'm gonna leave the other Eastern series that I really want to talk about for the end. Real quick, Indiana, Cleveland.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City's been worried a little bit about having to face Cleveland. It might be a hard matchup, yada, yada, yada. They're down 2-0 to Indiana. What's going on in that series? Explain the 2-0 deficit for Cleveland.
It's hard to explain. Game one, it's hard to explain. Because, I don't know, man. They just have not been able to close. And Halliburton and those dudes, they just seem very comfortable. There's no fear or intimidation there. They're playing like they feel like they're the better team in the series. Game two was weird because, first of all, Cleveland was without 3 of their top 4 guys. Garland was out.
Oh, well, that's easily explainable then.
Evan Mobley was out, NBA Defensive Player of the Year. And DeAndre Hunter was out, guy who they brought in from Atlanta near the trade deadline, who's been great for them. So you would expect them to struggle, but the thing is, they led the entire game. They were up by 12 points with just a couple minutes left. Indiana made a late run. Halliburton hit the 3. So they stole game 2. But if you're Cleveland, you're in trouble. You lose the first 2 games at home. Now you got to go to Indiana with them having the momentum. And I haven't heard. I need to check to see if those guys are back, because now they desperately need those 3 guys that sat out. They need those guys back if they want to compete, because they are in major, major trouble. They're the number 1 seed, and it just kind of makes you wonder, is it a year too soon for them? Are they like the Thunder were last year?
I think that's an easy argument to make. Yes, it might be too soon. Injuries don't help, but playoff basketball is just different. The Thunder figured that out last year against Dallas. It's just different. We all know that. Okay, the last one though, I don't think is easily explainable. I have zero idea, and I've actually watched a lot of this series because I pull for the Celtics. I love Jason Tatum. How they're down 2-0 to the Knicks, hosting the first 2 games. Look, Brunson's a nice player, but he's not good enough that it should be enough to put them 2-0 up against the Celtics. I do not understand this.
Not only are you down 2-0, you had 20-point leads in the second half of both games.
Yes. It's just,
that's
you can't describe
even more.
Look, Cleveland, you could say maybe they're not ready, and injuries. Like, those 2 are very legit explanations, maybe excuses for why you're down 2-0 to Indiana. Neither one of those apply to the Celtics. I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. I mean, obviously they're 3-point shooters. They rely heavily on the three, and they missed 45 threes in game one. They were 15 of 60 from three. Yeah, it's crazy. I think so far in this series, they're
How
20.
can wait? Let's go back.
Yeah,
How can a pro team not name the Phoenix Suns miss 45 3-pointers at home?
yeah, 45. They were 15 of 60 from three.
That is,
I believe so far in this series, I think they're 25 out of 100 from three.
oh, that's terrible.
25% as a team.
Listen,
And they keep shooting.
I said this about the Thunder before this playoffs. I was like, look, at the end of the day, I think they're the best team in the playoffs, but they have to make baskets. Like it's still basketball. You can be the best team or not. I did not realize that the Celtics have shot so abysmally, although it makes sense because they're down 2-0, but maybe I expect them to still overcome that. But you can't overcome 25% from 3-point line at home. What are you doing?
And somehow they're still favored to win the series, I believe.
They're still favored to win the title.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I am shocked by that. All right, dude. Well, hey, are you got tickets to Game 5?
Yes.
The wife and son will be at Game 5. Somehow
That's awesome.
I got shut out of Game 5 playoff experience. That's okay. I'm not bitter. But Jeffrey and Alice will be attending Game 5. I will explain to them the shirt situation. I don't have to explain it to Jeffrey, but I'll have to explain it to Alice to just wear the shirt. Okay, don't be a butthole.
Yeah. And they bully you into wearing the shirt. So at the game, when you're in the arena, they put you up. They will literally put you up on the jumbotron, where they'll say, "Put your shirt on," and the crowd will start booing you until you put your shirt on.
I got no problem with that. I meant to ask you when we were talking about them. Did you A, give Russ a standing ovation in Game 1, and B, did you subsequently boo him in Game 2?
I did not give him a standing ovation
Smart.
in Game 1. I did clap. No, I didn't even do that. No,
It's
I didn't
the
give him
playoffs,
anything.
dude. I hope you didn't do that.
Exactly. And I booed him. Yes, it's been 5 years.
Look, he's the most beloved player in Thunder history. Might go down as the most beloved player in Thunder history, and a hell of a basketball player. I mean, he averaged a triple-double. First person to average a triple-double since Oscar Robertson.
Correct.
He's a great player. He's got his hang-ups. Russ is a weird dude. I love what he did after in Game 7. I mean, I love it. Hang on the rim and point at the ref and say, "Tee me up."
Yeah, exactly.
I wish there were more people like that in the NBA. Yeah. To me, that is what makes the NBA so much fun, is that kind of character.
Yes.
You do not clap for him when he's coming to your place in the playoffs.
No. It seems like the crowd got it more in Game 2 than in Game 1.
Oh, well, yeah, I think losing sure did help.
And you don't give, there's no standing ovation. It's not like it's his first time back. It's been 5 years. They played the Nuggets twice at home this year.
I don't care if next year in the first game they give him a standing ovation. Yeah. If I'm there, I might clap for him again. I love Russ. I do not love Russ in the playoffs. That's insanity.
No, exactly.
That's insane.
You think he's not coming for your throat? Come on.
If Baker Mayfield played basketball and was coming back to play the Oklahoma City Thunder, I would not give him a standing O in the playoffs. And that was Baker Mayfield, my favorite Sooner of all time, probably.
Correct.
I think he's my favorite. He's got to be my favorite Sooner of all time, right? I mean, anybody that's...
I don't know. You don't seem to be, maybe just on here, you don't talk about him like other OU fans talk about him.
You think I'm a victim of groupthink? And I've been suckered into making myself believe that he's the best, my favorite Sooner.
Perhaps.
I don't know. You know what? Here's what I will say. Josh Heupel was my favorite Sooner for a long time.
Okay.
But then he ballooned, and that wasn't attractive on him. And he coaches at Tennessee, and Bob Stoops and him are at odds. So it's really hard for him to continue to be my favorite Sooner, even though he's the last quarterback to win a national championship. I was never really endeared to Jason White. I would have loved, if Sam Bradford wins a national championship, he would have supplanted Josh Heupel easily. And you'd love to know what would have happened in 2009. I think they could have won that. They could have won it all in 2009. I mean, Texas would have had something to say about it, but they could have won it all in 2009.
Yeah. That would have been tough. That'd have been that 2009 game was already tough enough without him. With him,
I would have liked to. Yeah, I would have liked to know Kyler if he'd have played a couple years at OU, where he would have ranked. Baker planting the flag at Ohio State was iconic.
Yeah.
It's an iconic thing that only Baker Mayfield could have done. And it will go down, not just in Oklahoma history, college football as
one of the other people do that now. It's not the same.
It's stupid. It's dumb. It's dumb. You're posers. But he did it. And he did it Kirk Herbstreit watching, which just adds to it.
Yeah, he basically planted that flag through Herbstreit's heart.
Oh, it was so good. However, he then is grabbing his crotch at the Kansas game. And while a lot of OU fans like to crotch grab, and listen, I'm all for a good crotch grab. Dude, I grew up in the 80s. My first ever tape was Michael Jackson. I know about crotch grabs, okay? I don't want to turn this into a crotch grab segment, Kevin, but I think you know that if you grew up in the 80s, you know all about crotch grabs. That's nothing new. I think it was a little bit immature for a 23-year-old, fifth-year senior at Kansas to be grabbing his crotch.
Correct.
And that's always kind of mellowed my feelings about Baker. But as seeing what he's done in the league, I think has added back in some pretty positive Baker feelings. I think he might be my favorite player. I think he's my favorite player.
It's understandable. I get it.
But I think you got to always remember the crotch grab and not get too off the rails there. I can't.
Yeah, the crotch grab was dumb.
Dude, he was like 23 at the time.
Correct.
Against Kansas.
Correct.
He didn't crotch grab against Texas. If he'd have crotch grabbed against Texas, I'd probably love it.
Yeah.
What is it against Kansas?
Yeah, it's not smart to do that. Especially now, first of all, the Kansas captains refusing to shake his hand during the pregame coin toss was one of the dumbest things.
How about the ball boy not shaking his hand?
Yeah, I'm like,
I loved it. That doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me.
It's Kansas.
Oh no, it's stupid, but I don't care. Like,
yeah,
if that's
I just thought it was dumb. Yeah, and again, I wasn't like, oh my god, just like that's dumb. Yeah, again, do you know what's about to happen?
Oh, dude, he had a great game, but I just don't. I don't know that he needs to be.
Yeah, sometimes you play down to your level of competition, right? It's Kansas.
Oklahoma always plays down to Kansas. So does Texas. They both do.
Yeah.
The hardest game in the 2000 season.
We were this close to both losing to Kansas in 2021. This close.
Oh yeah,
Texas
no
did
for
lose.
sure.
Yeah, and it's
for sure. In Oklahoma's national championship season, Kansas was their hardest home game by far.
Crazy. Beat Nebraska.
K-State. I think K-State might have been a closer game. They were really good that year.
That was on the road, though.
Well, yeah, that was on the road, and they were a pretty good team that year.
Yeah, they were loaded back then. God, they were good.
Was that old Roberson still the quarterback? Maybe in 2000?
It was. Was it? Did they still have Bishop, or was Bishop gone?
Ooh, it might have been Michael Bishop. They were good. So that was the toughest game. But at home, the toughest game was the Kansas game. It was like 34-16 or something. It was not a runaway, resounding victory.
Closer than
it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't pleasant. Kevin, a little long.
Jonathan Beasley was their starting quarterback in 2000.
He's like the same dude.
Roberson was there after that.
L. Roberson, and who'd you say? Who's the other guys? You just said it, and he blew. I just lost my memory.
Beasley.
We've been doing this for an hour. Roberson, Beasley,
and Michael
Bishop are all the same guys. Interchangeable.
Pretty much.
Or were they not all light-skinned black guys? that looked exactly the same?
Well, Bishop Roberson was a little short.
This is not a racing. This is not a racing. I'm
No.
saying in this case, they were all
Yeah.
light-skinned black guys that looked the same. Like they were interchangeable. Am I wrong about that? Am I misremembering?
A little bit. I mean,
come on, Kevin.
Roberson was not light-skinned.
Oh, he wasn't?
Nah. He was shorter, too. I mean, shout out to L. Roberson, man. Bay City, Texas.
I'm going to look at a picture of L. Roberson.
Or Baytown Lee. L. Roberson.
I need an image here of L. Roberson. Let's see. Taquan Roberson is not. You're right. You're right. I don't know, but he's not. He wasn't hood, though. You would agree with that.
What?
He's not like a hood dude. He looks like a clean cut, like all the same dudes. They look all the same to me. I don't know. I'm going to get in trouble with that. You're probably going to edit that part out.
Shout out to L. Roberson.
They were all good, though. They were all good.
Yeah.
And what's his name? The coach was the best coaching job of all time. K-State was a
Bill
dumpster
Snyder?
fire.
Oh, my God, yes. Yeah,
K-State was
irrelevant,
terrible
program in the country.
Look, dude, the late 90s, purple was cool. People were into it, man. They were into K-State. They were darling. I don't know what you would compare them to. I think like Baylor of the that Baylor team in 2014.
Yeah, Browse. Yeah.
Very similar to that. Very similar to TCU.
Yeah.
Over the last with the sweaty Gary Patterson. I think that's kind of where you put K-State, right? And that's they were very close to national championship, like in 98.
98,
maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, they blew the game to A&M in the Big 12 championship game.
That's right. That's exactly right. So anyway, yeah, they were good. Shout out K-State. That was a good game. Oklahoma had to dig deep for that game. I guess they had to dig deep for A&M too that year. I don't know. I still remember the Kansas game though.
Yeah, great play.
A lot closer than it needed to be.
The Jamar Toombs run from A&M in that game, very memorable. And the Torrance Marshall pick six.
Jamar Toombs, if they won that game, would have gone down in infamy. It's just one of those games where we could not stop him. Yeah. We couldn't stop him.
Yeah.
And I don't know that he had that great a career. I mean, he was a good player.
Yeah.
But that game against Oklahoma, was.
Yeah. I mean, that play, he just exploded through the line. He's just dragging good players to the end zone.
Oh, man. That 2000 season was.
I just one of the most mentally tough teams that I remember ever seeing.
You talked about it though early when we were talking about OU's schedule and could they go 9-3, 8-4, 10-2. You said, hey, they got to have a little bit of luck and not have no injuries in 2000.
Yeah,
I can't name an injured OU player. I'm sure they were banged up, but there was nobody we lost. Rocky Kalmus played in a cast. Rocky Kalmus played in a cast in 2000, but he played and won the Butkus Award.
Yeah, that team, man. It's just, and like I said, I don't know if anybody on that team gets an offer from OU nowadays.
I was talking about it with Soccer Dad. This was Soccer Dad on Sunday. We started talking about the fact that I'm tempered positivity about OU's wide receiver core, not because I think they have any dudes that are CeeDee Lamb, because they don't, but much like Leach in 99 and then followed up by oh man, I'm having a hard time today. Hour 29. Mangino in 2000. They made those receivers better than they were.
Yeah.
Guys like Curtis Fagan and Antoine Savage, a little bit of the Woolfolk in the 99 season. He was pretty much defense by 2000, but they made dudes receivers that wouldn't even start for an OU team nowadays.
Yeah.
They wouldn't.
They wouldn't get an offer.
But the system, and I think the system played to their strengths. Lots of crossing routes, lots
Yeah.
of stuff, lots of misdirection that had to. I mean, Josh Heupel was throwing to some wide open receivers in 99 and 2000.
Yeah.
And I hope that Arbuckle, look, I think the spread and the air raid has been figured out, to an extent. But that doesn't mean that you still can't scheme guys open. You look at Lincoln Riley's done it now for 6 years, 7 years as a head coach.
Yeah.
You really, really hope that that's what Arbuckle can bring. Hey, we're getting off the path, dude. It's a minute. It's an hour and 30, Kevin.
Well, here's the thing. When it comes
down
to football, there's no time limit. There's no rushing when we're talking OU and Texas football.
You're
There's
taking me
never
down
a need
memory
to
lane.
skip to the next segment. This is why, if you're listening to this is why you're here.
Look, we've gone this long. We've talked about my favorite player. I think it's only fair to give you equal time. Favorite player at Texas all time.
Well, I mean, you got to go with Vince Young, right?
I thought it was your defensive guy. What's his name?
I mean, okay, yeah, that was next. Derrick Johnson.
That's your favorite player of all time, though, isn't it?
Probably, yeah. I love that dude, man.
More so than Vince. I mean, Vince is Vince, and
Vince is Vince. Yeah, Vince is Vince. But yeah, Derrick Johnson, man, just never seen anybody before or since do the things he was able to do at linebacker. Just run sideline to sideline, stuff to run, drop into coverage.
Where was he out of high school? Where did he play?
Waco High.
Yeah, dude. When you can get those home state, it's easier to get in-state guys at Texas for obvious reasons. But when you can get an in-state guy and then he ends up being your favorite player, it's so fun.
It's different, man. It's different when you get those guys. And I was talking to Casey about it. Just Gerald McCoy, just being a local kid who just happens to be a 5-star defensive lineman. Not just a 5-star. I mean, a 5-star anything is awesome, but a defensive lineman who wants nothing more than to go to OU.
Well, it's like what I just mentioned with Rocky Calmus.
Yeah.
Having a kid out of Jinx, wanting to come to Oklahoma and win the Buckus, and then, followed up. We've had him on here, another Buckus winner with Teddy Lehman out of Fort Gibson. There's something about when you get those, I don't know that that's going to go away necessarily, even with NIL. I think for Texas and Oklahoma in particular, there's enough pull to keep guys there, and especially if they stay relevant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Vince Young is a lot like Adrian Peterson for OU fans, in that he might be the best player of the last 25 years, but I don't know if he's your favorite player.
Well, I don't know, man. Vince got the natty though, man, and was part of the
I know.
moment. And that's why I think he's a lot of Texas fans' favorite player, but just because of that the run against USC.
Well,
I mean,
it's the greatest performance in the BCS era in the final.
Yeah.
by one guy.
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody better.
Yeah.
I can't. I really can't. It was a moment to beat USC in the Rose Bowl. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And that USC team?
Yeah.
So you have him as your second favorite player? He's your second favorite player?
Yeah. And then Cedric Griffin after that. And then
But you got to set a connection. Is Cedric Griffin who you have a connection to? He went to Holmes?
Yeah.
He went to Holmes.
Yeah, he went to Holmes. Yeah.
See, I went to Taft High School, and I can't think of anybody that made it big at OU or Texas from Taft.
Yeah, neither can I. No. Taft had a running back, though, who was a year after me, a kid named Robert Merrill. Really talented guy. Yeah, his junior year, he had actually had a bad neck injury and had to miss the entire season. And he came back that next year, and he ran for almost 3,000 yards and took Taft to the state championship game. They lost.
I remember that.
They lost to Mesquite High School. I was actually there. And his recruiting was different then. So he didn't have any offers until late in once he had that 3,000-yard season, he actually ended up getting late offers from A&M and Nebraska, but he ended up going to TCU. He was okay there, but it was just a great story for him to go from not playing his junior year in high school to still getting a scholarship to go to TCU.
Yeah, I see. So that would have been what, 2000?
He would have been class of 2002.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he wasn't even there when I was.
Yeah.
because I graduated in 97.
They also had a kid named Darnell
Um,
Smith who played at Oklahoma State in the early 2000s. I think he was like class of 2003. He'd have been there with Robbie Reed and those guys. The
the
late
best
Les
player,
Miles, early Mike Gundy era.
the best player that I remember, somebody might correct me if I'm wrong, but I know he went D1. He played at Ohio. Was Reynold Ray. His little brother ended up playing at TCU.
Oh, was it Renoris Ray?
Yes.
His brother?
Yeah.
I
And his
remember
dad, I've told stories about Reynold Ray it called him Ray for obvious reasons. I mean, I don't know how you could not. And his dad reminded me, I know we're going a little long. I don't care. I'm having fun today. His dad reminded me of the character from Pulp Fiction. What's his name?
Ving Rhames,
Not Travolta.
that actor.
No, not Ving Rhames. The other guy, the one that. Oh, gosh, I'm sorry, dude. I'm old today.
Samuel
My
Jackson's
mind is
character?
not. Yes, Samuel L. Jackson.
Really?
He reminded me of Samuel L. Jackson, and he wore suits all the time. I mean, he was a very professional guy, but he still had.
Just because I'm thinking about a
Jerry Curl,
defensive lineman, that's why I went Ving Rhames, thinking about it.
No.
Defensive lineman.
No, but he was a big dude, right? Or at least he was a big guy. And he had a little Jerry curl, which was weird in the 90s to have a Jerry curl, right? I mean, come on. And I'll never forget, and if I've told this story, forgive me, but we're over playing basketball on Ray Ray's driveway because he had the first legit basketball goal that was on a driveway. Okay, right, the big backboard, the breakaway rim in the cement. Most people have them now. They're like Gorilla rims and all that. I've got one at my house for my girls.
Yours is awesome.
Thank you. But back then, dude, you had one that was filled up with water or sand, and it was terrible. That's what I had as a kid. Yeah. It was. I'd say I did have one in the ground, but
you know how to shoot on that, but that's about it.
I had one in the ground when I was in junior high. But it was like on grass. Like I was like Jimmy Chitwood out there shooting on grass as a kid. That's not here nor there. We were at Ray Ray's house because he had a real goal, like the legit real. I mean, they took their sport seriously. He had a legit real goal, and so we would play a lot of basketball in his driveway. I'll never forget his dad pulling up, and he's getting off work. We have to move out of the way for him to pull in the garage, and he walks out. He's like, "Ray tell you about his phone?" And we're like, "No." Ask him about his phone. And it just stays with me for the rest of my life. And we're like, okay, what's up with the phone? Oh, I'll tell you what's up with the phone. He doesn't even let Ray answer. I'll tell you what's up with his phone. We wrapped it in saran wrap. Because he was on the phone past 9 o'clock. And Ray's got to know what happens when he's on the phone past 9 o'clock. It's like, oh my gosh, I'll never forget it. Ask him why his phone's wrapped in saran wrap. It's just
man.
It's one of those memories from your life that you will never,
for sure,
ever forget. And because his dad's big and huge, and you're scared to death of him anyway. Yeah. And then he's like talking about a punishment, and it was serious. It wasn't just saran wrap. There was physical pain inflicted on this kid for being on the phone past 9 o'clock. That's probably why both of his sons were D1 football players.
Yeah, D1 athletes. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, so good, dude. Ray, if you're out there, I hope you're listening. He was a nice guy too. One of those nicest kids I went to high school with. Oh my gosh, he's such a good dude. So anyway, there you go. Who is the best? Is Cedric Griffin the best player out of Holmes?
Yes. I mean, they had the Cash twins also in the 80s, Keith and Kerry.
The Cash brothers were pretty good, man.
They were very good. I mean, these both dynamic, big athletes, but Cedric Griffin, second round pick, 8 years in the NFL.
The Cash brothers story I have is when they played basketball. And I was not very old. So I want to say that like Taft became a school in like 86, 87. Does that sound about right?
I have no idea.
For a long time, it was the newest of the North Side schools. And I want to say this was like 87, 88. the best player at Taft for a very long time, maybe until Joey Tate, was a guy by the name of Mike Laderer. That was his name, Mike Laderer, Laderer. And he was on the very first Taft teams. And the coach, even when I was there in the late 90s, Coach Osterman still talked about how good this kid was. I remember watching him because my dad worked for his dad at JCPenney. So there was a connection there. They knew each other. Gotcha. And so my dad would take me to Mike Laderer's games. I didn't even know I was going to go to Taft at the time. Like I said, if this was 88, I was like 9 or 10 years old. And the Couch brothers played an addition. I mean, obviously they played football, but they also played basketball because all those great athletes played both things.
Yeah.
It was in Paul Taylor Fieldhouse, and it was Taft versus Holmes. And this was late in the season. And again, Taft was pretty good, but this Lederer kid was by far the best white guy. Before, I don't think there was a three-point shot. If there was, they had just introduced it in high school.
Okay.
But anyway, the Couch brothers took turns guarding this kid. Like it was Keith and then Kerry. I think he went 40 against him. And I'll never forget. I remember it was as loud as Paul Taylor Fieldhouse ever got, because it never really got really loud because it was a concrete structure. It wasn't a home gym type situation.
Weird building.
I hated it. But it got really loud, dude. It was so fun. And I don't know if you can look back up at those stats. I might try to look them up and post them online. But I just remember they just kept going like Keith and Kerry at this guy. And he just kept buried bucket after bucket. Like I said, I think he might have gone for 40 without a three-point line. If I remember right. Again, I was a kid. I'm 10. He might have gone for 45.
Did he end up playing college ball?
North Texas. If I'm not mistaken, I think he went to North Texas.
Yeah.
He was really good. Yeah, dude. Good times. Taft High School.
Cash twins, both drafted in the NFL, tight end.
Keith was the better of the two, right? Am I remembering that right?
At Texas he was, but I think Kerry was drafted higher.
Oh, really?
He was,
okay.
Kerry, went in the 5th round. Keith went in the 7th round. Both played a few years though. Kerry played 71 games in the NFL. Keith played 64 games. So.
Okay, maybe it was. Maybe Kerry was. I remember him being better at Texas.
Yeah. Keith was better at Texas. But yeah, I remember.
I mean, that was right.
In high school, and they're always the facility.
That was right in that sweet spot where Texas was beating Oklahoma like 5 years in a row.
Yeah, but man, they weren't good overall. But yeah, Peter Gardner.
No, they weren't good overall, but they were beating Oklahoma, which is all I knew. That's the only thing that registered with me.
Yeah, Peter
Gardner was thrown to the Cash twins.
Yeah.
Peter Gardner.
Texas had 4.
Dude, it's 142 in, and you're bringing up Peter Gardner, Kevin. Stop.
Holmes had 4 guys go to Texas in their 85 class. Something like that.
That wasn't the Cash brothers, wasn't 85, was it?
I don't know.
That doesn't sound right.
It might not have been. No.
No, we were there a little later.
A few years before that. They're 85 year, though, and they had 4 guys go to Texas.
I wouldn't have remembered. Man, born in 1969. Keith Cash is 55 years old. Man, that is crazy. That is crazy. San Antonio, Texas Holmes, NFL draft in 91. So when would he have played at Texas then? The 90.
From 88.
86. So maybe this was 86.
Yeah, remember they were on the 85 team then.
They went to the 5A Texas State Championship game in basketball in 1987.
Okay, then no.
They went to Pease Middle School. You remember Pease?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Where'd you go to middle school?
I went to Pat Neff.
Oh, Pat Neff. Yeah, I was HB Zachary. All right, dude. We're getting into some weeds. Once we start talking middle school, we probably need to take this offline. Kevin, hey, dude, listen. Enjoy the softball. Have a great weekend. Hopefully Saturday is OU Texas softball, and hopefully OU beats their ass. Boomer!
Welcome.